episode may contain language or discussions that may be offensive or triggering. Refer to the episode summary for details. Hi there, welcome to On Her Terms. I'm your host, Charlene Ketchum, and I am joined by Marquita Ell of Ells Wellness, and she is just amazing. I tell everybody that I love Marquita, and by the end of this chat, you all will be loving her too and running over to her website at Ells Wellness as well, because she is such a wealth of information. And earlier episodes of this podcast, we've been talking about relationships with our partners. We've been talking about how to manage trauma, how to deal with challenges in our friendships, and work, just balancing life. And that all starts with creating balance in you. And with Marquita's role as a wellness coach, she can educate you about nutrition, the physical, the personal training aspects of it. But she really gets to the core of all the things that we need to think about and try to balance, and just how to stay well and how to navigate in life. So this is one of the most important conversations I'm having this season, because it's at it's the foundation of everything. So thank you, Marquita, for being here to chat today. So I wanted to start the foundation just by talking about why this is such an important dialogue. As we've seen this year with COVID and with the economic crisis, it's disproportionately impacted people of color, and Black women in particular, because Black women are the caregivers and they are the nurturers for so many. So as we've seen throughout history, this year we've been seeing Black women step up. They are in these frontline jobs, whether it's from the grocery store or in nursing care, at home, working from home, homeschooling, trying to balance homeschooling with work. And it's taking a toll, but these challenges are not new. They've just been aggravated as a result of COVID-19 and the economic crisis. And that's why the work that you do is so important. So first, I want you to be able to introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about your background and what you do to help empower women.
First, thank you for having me. I love having these conversations because they're much needed, and in a lot of cases, we just don't have space to have them often enough. So I myself have been personal training in the fitness industry for a bit over a decade now, and I've most recently, over these last couple of years, really expanded into a more holistic approach to wellness. And this really came from me seeing what my clients needed beyond the weights. The strength training, the cardio, those areas which are absolutely important, just never really got to the core or the root of what was actually causing the imbalances in the body, whether it was weight gain, whether it was chronic pain, just, unmanaged stress, the things that involve the day-to-day. And I really needed to dig deeper myself. I needed to dig into those areas. I needed to increase my knowledge and just really gain a better understanding of how can I serve my clients as well as they need to be served. And of course, in particular, I have a special place for women. I have trained, everyone, trained and coached, men, women, children, but women have a special place in my heart, particularly because of the role that most women play just on a regular basis. We tend to be the nurturers. We tend to have so many branches that kind of stem from who we are, whether that be caregiver, whether that be your career, the children, your personal relationships, just all of the roles and responsibilities that we can tend to before we tend to ourselves. And so my role is really to coach my clients along to really uncover and to really help them do a bit more self-reflection in areas that we normally just don't give ourselves time for. It's like, you know what? I don't have time to think about why I'm eating like this, or I don't have time to think about why I'm stressing like this, because I have to get to whatever the next task or whatever the next responsibility is in my life. And so I really just allow my clients to slow down. It's like, okay, wait a minute. If we've been trying to get this weight off, or we've been trying to get the body in balance for the last 10 years, maybe there's some steps here that we rushed through or overlooked. So let's give ourselves the time that it takes to really sit in this area in hopes of a more sustained weight loss or sustained balance in stress, so that now we're looking at wellness as long-term and lifelong, as opposed to a program that starts and has a finish line. Because of course, as we know, wellness does not have a finish.
A lot of people who are listening to this conversation may be thinking, okay, why are we talking about stress and balance when we're, they may have looked at the description and just glanced at it and saw, wellness or health, and they're thinking, okay, weight loss, why are we talking about stress? I'm trying to lose weight, or, I'm trying to get leaner, or I'm trying to get a plumper butt. They're just thinking about certain little goals, and they may be thinking, why are they talking about stress and balance? Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, absolutely. So, as you said, sometimes the idea of weight loss centers around how do I look?
Yeah.
And when we look at wellness, wellness tends to center more around how do I feel? And so, where weight loss can be a component of wellness, weight loss doesn't necessarily have to be. If your goal isn't something beyond, say, for example, I have a cruise to go to in 12 weeks. So my behavior is aligned with me reaching that cruise date. And once that date arrives, that's my finish. And whatever I did to reach that goal, I may or may not continue, but for the most part, I was driven by reaching that particular circumstance. When you're looking at wellness, you really are attending to how you feel. You're looking at what things am I doing on a daily basis. So we're looking at rituals. We're looking at how can I create habits that really align with where I want to go, as opposed to where I am right now. So if I were to say, if you could imagine yourself 5 years from now, what does that look like to you? What does that feel like to you? What do you see yourself doing? Even who is around you, because all of those things affect where we're trying to go. And we're not typically wanting to think that far ahead. But when we take that finish line and really push it out that far, it really does look like, wow, okay, well, in order for me to feel better and look better in 5 years, I probably need to get started today. But it also looks like something that's a lot more intentional and a lot more ritual based, as opposed to rushing to a finish line.
And you're talking about things being ritual based and assessing, who's surrounding you and really looking at the totality of your life. And, some people may think, does that really matter? As long as I just, if my goal is to lose the weight for this cruise or for my wedding date, can I just count some calories and just focus on that? Do I really need to look at, the people I'm spending time with, or how many hours I'm clocking at work, or how many hours I'm sleeping, or do I really need to pay attention to that?
Well, yeah. I mean, in a nutshell, we might not necessarily want to. We might not necessarily feel like we have time to, but it's like at the end of the day, the body will always tell you what it wants, but it'll also tell you what it needs. And sometimes the wants and the needs don't line up. So when we look at even relationships, everything in our life, it really has more to do with consumption. Am I consuming enough of what I need? Mm-hmm. Am I consuming less of what I don't? And if we constantly ask ourselves that question, that goes beyond the scale. Like you're asking yourself, like everything around you is food, whether it's, food to nourish your body or food to nourish your spirit, food to nourish your thoughts. Think about what images, think about what you're consuming on a regular basis and how is it making you feel. I have clients, especially right now in this climate, that are struggling with over consuming news coverage, media content, and images that are creating these higher increased levels of anxiety and fear and anger and frustration. And it's almost addictive. It's hard for them to turn away. And so, where I'm having you log your food, I'm also having you log your mood. I want to know how you felt that day, but I'm also asking you to pay attention to what you consumed that day. So did you watch 45 minutes of CNN today? And did that affect what you decided to eat next? And did that keep you up at night? And now you couldn't get the quality of sleep that you needed to start the next day. So all of these components really are tied together. We just have to pause, take a step back, and consider that they all matter in the course of us getting our bodies and our minds to its best place.
Yeah, so you just touched on so many important concepts there. One of the things about consumption, I know that in working with you as a wellness coach and personal trainer, one of the things you always emphasize is you want to have more of the good stuff. Let's focus on what we're adding, not what we're taking away. So we want to try to increase, more vegetables, more walks, let's do more of the things that are going to help you and focus on that instead of what you're being deprived from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what we've seen it. So what we've seen over and over is how the media has shown us how to lose weight. And the focus, it typically centers around reduction and avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
So you're focusing on what you need to do less of, what you need to eat less of, what you need to stay away from. So your thoughts are attracted to everything you're telling yourself you don't need. Now, that in turn is going to normally draw you closer to it because we know that the law of attraction is real. So whatever I'm thinking about all day, at some point, I'm going to be drawn closer to it. So if I'm walking out the door telling myself, okay, today I won't have any sweets. Today I won't go to the vending machine when I get to work. Today I won't have any soda. Well, what are you thinking about all day? You're thinking about that soda or you're thinking about those chips. And so every moment you're really centering your actions around trying to police yourself or trying to fight this temptation that you planted as soon as you got up and spoke those words. So the goal here is to focus more on the abundance factor. It's like, okay, what do I need to do more of? Okay, I need to get more sleep. So instead of us focusing on, I don't need to be up this late, let's say, okay, how can I create a nighttime routine that allows me to get more sleep than I normally would? Or, okay, instead of, I don't need to drink this many sodas, let's say, you know what, how am I going to be able to incorporate 3 more bottled waters than what I had last week? So now I'm creating game plans around what I need to increase and what I need to do more of. And the more you talk about what you need to do more of, it draws you closer to it. Even if you don't realize it, it draws you closer to it. If you're talking about water, you're thinking about water, and you just might end up drinking more water.
Crazy water.
That's exactly it. If you're talking about fruit, think about conversations sometimes that you have with people, and you're like, you know what? Every time I run into you, you're always talking about this, or you're always talking about that. And they say, well, it's because I love it. It's because, it has helped me so much, and I just can't help talking about it. I like to shout it from the rooftops. Well, for that person, that also keeps them near and dear to whatever it is that they feel has improved their life in whatever way, whether that be financially, whether that be spiritually. We love to share that good news with other people, and especially if we're continuing to see and feel the benefits of it. So when you are thinking about healing your body, think about the areas that need to be improved from the abundance mindset, and that'll keep you closer to it.
Yeah, I love that. And it's such a positive way to frame it. For me, punishment and negative reinforcement do not work. They have never been effective for me. If anything, it just, when I start feeling ashamed, I kind of shut down and I'm going to retreat. And I know other people, they may respond to different methods, but for me, framing it that way and focusing on, oh, I like this, instead of like, for me, it's sugar. Like, I love sweets,
Mm-hmm.
love sweets. I love cookies. I love cakes, all those things. But instead of thinking about how I need to not go get stuff to bake some cookies today, or I can't go have this cake, I instead think about, okay, I really like this movie, or I really love this tea. And for me, liquids will keep me full and will curb a lot of my cravings. And so I try to keep lots of water around. And I've even started adding little fruits. I have like a water jug that has in the middle, it has a little dispenser thing. You put the fruit in there. And so then I've got sweetened water. And the thing I've learned, the less sugar sweets that I have, the sweeter that little fruit water gets for me, because
That's
the taste buds adjust. And so
mm-hmm.
I keep drinking that, and I look for different combinations of fruits. Like, I've made that my thing,
That's it.
different teas, putting different fruit. Like, let me see if I can. You posted something on Facebook recently about, boiling down fruits and things. And I'm like, I wonder how that'll work in my tea. If I put some fruit in the bottom of my tea and see how that'll taste. Like, making that, reshifting that focus, instead of thinking about how I can't have the cookies and the cakes, but I can do this. Let me see how I can enhance that. Make that your focus.
Absolutely.
And you don't feel so deprived. And that also makes me think of the concept of people, when we talk about how we look at our bodies when we're under construction, so to speak, when we're undergoing a transformation. One of the conversations that I had the other day, and now I'm, audience, I'm not filming these episodes in order that they'll run. And so at this point, I can't remember offhand if it's something that you would have heard or seen already, or if that's still to come. But in one of the conversations, we talked about the need to really love on yourself. When you're really working on yourself is when you're doing that most intense work, that you need to be loving on yourself even more, instead of looking at yourself and saying, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like that, because that framework will block you from that progress. And we were talking about that in terms of overcoming trauma and shame and more emotional things. But how does that apply when we start talking about dealing with a wellness plan that's focused on, how am I sleeping? How am I eating? How much am I moving my body? We've talked about framing it, not thinking about depriving ourselves from not having certain foods and things, and focus on what you can have in abundance. But how does that translate to how we perceive our bodies?
So a lot of the perceptions that we have of ourselves impact how we treat ourselves, but it also impacts how we treat other people. And so when we're looking at our own journey, it's okay to not focus on food. It's okay to not focus on your workout in order for you to really figure yourself out. Like, figure out, what is it about me? What is it that stresses me? Let me really understand and identify my stress. Let me forgive myself for not getting it right. Like, if I've been at this for 10 years, let me go ahead and make amends with myself. So once I can clear that air, now I can move forward from a space of cheering myself on and supporting myself through imperfect days, or supporting myself through stressful moments that cause me to maybe not go to the gym or not eat exactly as I had hoped to. So when we're looking at those moments where, in a lot of cases, a failure for a lot of people means, well, I had this game plan set up and it didn't go as planned. When in all actuality, your recovery is really going to be the most important aspect to you reaching your result, because the recovery means I didn't stop. Like, I continue to show up for myself in spite of whatever stumble or hurdle that came up. I may have told myself that, you know what, today I'm going to drink 80 ounces of water, and you had 8. Okay. You had 8 ounces. Day didn't go as planned. I had a long day, whatever the case was. You can take responsibility for how your day went, but you can also decide that my recovery is going to get me to the finish line, right? So I can decide that I didn't have 80 ounces today, but I'm going to set myself up to have 80 ounces tomorrow. And
Mhm.
that's really that's the energy that we're looking for, is how long am I sitting in defeat? How long am I going to sit in this despair? Like, how much time am I going to give myself to be mad at myself because I didn't go to the gym, or because I didn't do something as planned? So you get to be frustrated, because if this is something that is passionate to you, which your health should always be, important and of priority, but that doesn't mean, realistically speaking, we always get everything right. A lot of the areas for us that tend to fail us most are areas that we really never had a firm foundation. We weren't taught how to eat well. We weren't
Right.
taught how to have a healthy relationship with our body, with our mind. We really weren't taught that stress happens to everyone. We were taught to almost suppress what it looks like to respond to stress. Or think about the phrase, too blessed to be stressed.
Yes. Yeah.
That phrase alone,
Yeah.
it creates this space that says, stress doesn't live here. Well, yeah, stress does live here,
Yes.
because when we open up the conversation about stress, what we realize is that we need stress. All stress isn't bad stress. We just need to identify what our stressors are and how they are impacting our body and how they are impacting our everyday life. If we didn't have stress in our body, we wouldn't have a lot of the protections that we need. Think about your fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
That's stress showing up in the form of adrenaline in order to protect you from some type of perceived harm or danger. So, when you see a video of a mom pushing a big car off of a child,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can thank stress for that. Thank
Yeah.
stress for that moment where that mom had superhuman strength. Think about a promotion, a promotion on a job. Think about a wedding proposal. Like, all of those things are stressful,
Yeah.
but those are also things that stress is a good thing in
Right.
regard to what your next looks like, right? So it's like, I'm stressed not because I feel like something bad is about to happen. I'm stressed because now I'm moving into a space where I have to challenge myself more on the job. I have to ask myself, am I the right person for this position? So we have stress. We now want to really just take a step back and say, you know what? It's not that it's stress I'm trying to avoid. It's stress that I'm trying to learn and understand, so that for my body, I can heal in the way that I need to heal. I can sleep in the way that I need to sleep. I can interact and engage with the people in my life, so that we now have those healthy interactions that decrease my negative stress responses that could cause me to move closer to some of those unhealthy responses to that unmanaged stress. So, in a nutshell, like, it's a lot. Life is happening, right? Life is happening. And so if we can just forgive ourselves a little bit, but at the same time, give ourselves permission to show up for ourselves a little bit more. Like, if we can do those two things, we can get further along than we were before.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's that forgiveness part. It's continuous, because I don't think I've ever had a day where I hit all the goals. It's usually one area of my life that I probably excel at, maybe 60, 70% every day. Like, if I have a very productive, day for my 9 to 5 job, then whatever side projects I had, I didn't kick it as well as I needed to there, or my sleep. And so that's a huge struggle for me, a huge ongoing process for me, just that forgiveness part, saying, you know what, I had all these good intentions, but they don't work. I didn't hit everything today, but it's okay. Like, me and my sister, we've started saying to each other, we wake up every day to win. But win doesn't mean you check every box. That means we woke up every day saying, we're going to do this again. We're going to give it best effort again, with the knowledge that you still may not check every box, but you got up and you didn't carry over the anxiety and frustration from not doing everything the day before.
That's exactly
And that's huge, and that's a learning process, because I still have my days and I'm like, really, Really?
Yes, you will. But see, that's the thing. Life doesn't, it's not a this or that, right? We live in the gray. So because we live in the gray, we have to also expect this process to sit in the gray. So when you think about a checklist, our idea of a checklist is centered around behavior and productivity. So it's like, okay, I love the idea of feeling like I've accomplished something today. Well, the question is, what to you is accomplished? I might feel like the most accomplished part of my day was giving myself 10 minutes to sit on a park bench and increase the vitamin D, or just smell the flowers, or people watch, because I haven't been able to do this in so long, right? So if I decide that my checklist needs to be modified, now I've reframed what a productive day actually looks like, because we suffer from busyness in this country.
Yes.
Everybody is so busy, but everybody is so sick.
Yeah.
So it's like we're one of the sickest first world countries. We have all the resources, we have all the access, but we have all the sick people, right? Everybody is sick. Everybody is sick and successful, is what I'm saying.
Girl.
Everybody is sick and successful, and just too busy to take a pause. And also to consider that some of the most accomplished, productive things you can do in the day is really looking for downtime and considering downtime to be a part of your healing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, think about when we run into people just in a casual setting, right? You might be in a grocery store. Okay. Pre-COVID, when we actually stopped and talked to people.
Hugged and hugged.
Right. So, let's say pre-COVID, you run into somebody and it goes a little something like this. Hey, how you been? What's been going on? Oh, I got a meeting coming up. I got this going on. Yeah, I'm back in school now. So yeah, I just got a lot on my plate. Yeah, busy, busy, busy. Oh, wow. Yeah, it sure does sound like you got a lot going on. Yeah, me too. Yeah, the kids are just getting ready to get back in school. Now I'm working this extra job and now I'm doing this. So yeah, my day sounds just like yours. Well, okay. All right. I'll see you. All right. You go ahead and you go be busy. Okay. I'll go and I'll go be busy as well. Right. So we are programmed and conditioned to identify ourselves as busy. And what I'm not saying that we're not, but what I'm saying is when it becomes our identity, we're attracted to it. Right. So if I'm attracted to busyness, it means even if I have downtime, I really can't rest, because I'm attracted to busyness. I need to find something to do. I need to find something, because the last thing I want to tell somebody is I'm not doing anything. Hey, what you doing? I'm always about to tell them something, right? I'm telling them what I'm about to do next, where I'm about to go next. But
something I checked off the box.
Something I checked off the box, right? So it's like we tend to get a little anxious when we have 30 minutes. It's like, what can I do? What can I do to fill this space? Well, maybe I can go do a load of laundry. Maybe I can catch up on some of this. And so when we actually start deciding that downtime really is one of the best forms of healing the body, right? That's why sleep is so important. Think about it. When you come into this world, you need the most amount of sleep. Like the baby can sleep literally all day and only wake up to eat and use the bathroom.
Babies, cats too.
Right. So of course, but the doctor will tell you, like, oh yes, your baby needs to, the baby's sleeping 20 hours. Okay. Your toddler's sleeping 17 hours. Okay. Your teen is sleeping 12 hours, because that's the time when the magic is happening, right? That's the time when the body is actually repairing and healing, recovering.
Memories are being processed and stored.
Right.
Yes.
So we need rest, but because we are so conditioned to be busy, we have really created a culture of, again, busyness and busyness and sickness, they go hand in hand. And I'm not referring to things that are out of our control, right? Because there are always factors that are just out of our control, whether that be environmental, whether that be uh, race related, gender related, wealth related. So there are so many areas that are outside of our control.
Right.
We're looking at what we can identify that can help improve where we are today. So if I take a step back and say, okay, am I setting my body up to prepare me for the what next? Am I in the best space for the what next if I don't know what that is? I don't know if there's going to be another pandemic, but
Right.
am I in a space where if this were to happen in 2 years, I could feel confident in my body being able to put its best foot forward for me?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So if I'm a person who says, okay, let me look at this list. All right. So if excess weight is a risk factor, am I doing anything intentionally right now to help reduce that number? Am I looking at ways to get that into a healthier weight range so that my body is less stressed, right? So that my organs aren't having to work much harder, right? So that's where I'm looking at what ways can I improve my current state of health, because in my best health doesn't look like yours. So what I need may not be what you need, but what I want to focus on are the areas that are within my control. Am I able to improve how I'm currently eating? Am I able to improve how much I'm moving? Am I able to improve how I'm tending to my stress? These are areas that greatly impact our immune system, that greatly impact how our bodies can show up for us in moments that we are not in control of. And so it's not just about prevention, it is about preparedness. A slip and fall. Imagine a slip and fall. Nobody plans for a slip and fall. You really can't, that's not even something you can prevent, right? It doesn't matter how healthy you are. If you just, accidentally slip off a curb, you slipped, right? You can be a healthy person who slipped off a curb. You can be an unhealthy person who slipped off a curb. The difference is, will your body be able to best show up to protect you in your recovery? If we get to the hospital and the doctor says, oh, well, you know what? We really need to rush you into emergency surgery, but we're going to have to delay the process because your blood pressure is too high and we just can't risk the medication that you're currently taking interfering with what we need to do next. So those are the things that we really don't talk about as often. It's like there's a lot of things that happen in our lives that we have no control over. I could be considered a healthy person because I'm in a healthy weight range, because I don't have high blood pressure, because I don't have diabetes, and because I don't have high cholesterol. These factors consider me to be a healthy person. These factors do not mean I am now exempt from unknown circumstances. I am not exempt from a slip and fall. I'm not exempt from falling ill, but my current set of circumstances can better equip me to recover or to heal through whatever process needs to take place. And that's really what we're looking at. Is my body prepared to show up for me if something happens that's totally out of my control?
Wow. And so it's, and you've, us having worked together, you've said this to me many times. And so I'm just thinking about people in the audience who hear that. And I hope that they hear it and they're like, wow, because the work that you do every day in helping people develop a wellness plan, it's not just for today. It's not for next week. The people who started preparing last year, they might have thought, okay, I'm just doing this because I want to lose, I want to lose some weight, or I'm preparing for this event. Those folks were better prepared when the pandemic hit, because they had, these healthy rituals. They had started doing things, going outside, getting more vitamin D, which, strengthens your immune system, getting more sleep, having more fruits and vegetables. All those things helped those folks and their bodies prepare for today. Even though you have all those external stressors, all this crazy stuff that's happening in the world, you can't control those. You can control to a degree your exposure to it, but you can't control a lot of that. But getting the jump on it is really important. And I highlight that because, I've heard people say, you've done so much damage to your body. What's the point? Especially when we talk about things related to our joints, carrying extra weight, and I can attest to that, is your body feels different and when you're carrying extra weight, and that's a lot of pressure on your joints, and it's pressure that your body was not designed to carry. And so yes, it is doing damage. But can you talk a little bit about, is it too late to ever start to repair those things? Should a person feel like, I've been overweight for so long, that me losing the weight at this point, the damage is done, what difference is it going to make?
Mm-hmm. So it's never too late. Your body is always ready to recover. Like, I'll say this, your body is waiting on you. That's really what it is. Like, it doesn't matter if you're 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. Like, your body is not going to give up on you. You can give up on it, but your body is not going to give up on you. It's designed to repair, to regenerate, and to recover, right? And so at whatever level, your body can be in better condition than it is right now. And so the question really is, what does that look like for me? If I'm a person who right now can only take 3 steps before I have to sit down, well, now let's talk about how we can train our body, how we can train our endurance to be able to walk 10 steps. Okay. Now that 10 becomes 20. Now you feel more confident going outside to get the mail, because now well, I can actually take 15 steps before I need to sit down. Whereas in the past, I would ask that they leave the mail on the front door because I was unsure of myself. And so a lot of the things that keep people from really repairing and healing their body is just the fear of not getting it right. It's just like, well, I've been broken for so long that, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. And honestly, it hurts. Like, it hurts. Like, recovery doesn't feel good. When you think about even going to a physical therapist, if you've had some type of surgery and they're telling you every day, I'm going to ask that you raise your arm 3 times. And you say, but that hurts so bad every time I raise it, so I don't want to move my arm. And they say, well, in order to retrain that area so that it continues to be as flexible and mobile as you need it to be, you're going to have to train it to do what it does when it's functioning at its best. So you don't want that arm to get used to not moving, because when you're ready to move it, it won't. So a lot of this is really working through some of those aches and pains that have for so long felt more comfortable, where it's like, oh, I got this achy knee, so I really don't walk. Well, where you have joint pain, increased mobility is one of the best forms of medication, so where it seems like it would counter it, it really does, help to loosen up the body. And it just tells the body, okay, this is what I was designed to do. I was designed to move. So maybe if I move more, I might actually feel better. If I, start eating more fruits and vegetables, some of my gut issues might start to decrease and I might start to feel better. So it's just that trust that what my body needs of me is probably more than what I'm giving it. Whatever that is and whatever that means to you, you take your own step back and say, whatever my body needs of me, I'm probably not giving it enough. And now ask yourself, what can I do more of? And you don't have to do everything all at the same time. You can just decide, I need to drink more water. Okay, for the next 2 weeks, just focus on drinking more water. That's the healing process for the body. The body needs water. Every function of the body relies on water, from brain function, heart function, your lymphatic system, your joints, your muscles, everything needs water. I would say probably the only thing in your body that really doesn't rely as much on water is fat. Isn't that something? The one thing that can exist without water. I'm talking about the fat in your body might be composed of maybe 10 to 15% water, but everything else, your muscles, your brain, your heart, like they fully rely on your body's intake of water. So when you start thinking about just, let me start doing something little, but let me move with intention. Like I really have to be intentional about healing my body. And also understanding this, that healing your body is really not rooted in behavior. It's rooted in belief, right? So when you have a belief system of healing, it doesn't matter if you're injured in a hospital bed. A person that's rooted in the belief system of healing, every time you walk in, they're doing something. If all they're doing is this, every time you walk in, because that's the only thing that works right now, you'll see them doing that every day, because that mindset for them isn't focusing on what's not working right now. Their mindset is always centered in, well, what can I be doing? What is working? If I got one leg right now, then consider me doing single leg raises until that other one starts to show up. If I have a rotator cuff injury, that doesn't mean I can't use the other arm. It doesn't mean I can't use my legs. I can walk up and down these stairs. So it's really the mindset that says, I'm not going to give up on myself. And one area not working as well as it needs to does not give me permission to let everything else fall by the wayside. So that really helps to keep you, it keeps you rooted in doing the work and knowing that everything doesn't have to be working fully in order for me to get to work.
Right. Yeah. And the process, it's not that it gets easier, you get stronger,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's a manifestation of you loving on yourself, you know, because truly, I was talking about this with somebody recently. You know, we just have to love our bodies for showing up every day despite the abuse.
That's it.
Like truly, it's like you're not feeding me properly, you know, you're not putting me to bed properly, you know, but I'm showing up for you every day.
That's it.
And, you know, that's amazing. And that if that's not reason to love on yourself,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
And know that everything isn't your fault. Like we have been conditioned to see everything that we don't succeed as our fault. Like with that, we're conditioned. We do the same thing with poverty. We just decide that if you're poor, you deserve it, and it's you did it. Like you didn't do enough in life. You didn't do enough in life to climb out of poverty. Or if you're a person who's overweight, you just didn't do enough in life. You don't want it enough. You're not doing enough for you to, you know, get well or to get to whatever that weight loss goal is. Right. And so we're just so conditioned to kind of view other people as a you deserve this or you don't mentality. And that clogs us up. That gets in our way, because the other area that helps to improve our immune system is gratitude. Gratitude and compassion really help heal the body, because they really help to improve the center of our spirit, because how we treat people is also how we treat ourselves. Yes. And so the more rooted you are in being more compassionate, being understanding, being more patient, it allows you to also do those things to yourself. And it tells you you deserve it. Like you deserve grace, you deserve forgiveness in times when you may not have done as much as you know you needed to, because something else was happening. Like life is really happening out here. You know, you have people are suffering from depression, suffering from anxiety, 3 people in the household, all trying to work from home, go to school from home, you know, people who are furloughed, who, you know, are struggling to find employment, people who are still forced to go to work and really don't want to go to work because they don't feel like it's safe right now. So we have so many experiences that are going on that we get a little too distracted by the idea of other people's behaviors. We get a little too distracted by, well, maybe if they would have just saved more money, they would be more well off. Well, who exactly are we talking to when we know that most of this country is drowning in debt and, you know, it barely making $30,000 a year? And then we also know that most of this country is sick and suffering from one of those pre-existing conditions, whether it be excess weight, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes. So we really are in the same boat. Yeah. We have different degrees, different spectrums, but we're all in the same boat. So if we can see each other in that same way, then we actually might be able to heal ourselves along a lot better, because we're less critical of ourselves when we're less critical of other people's journeys.
You just said a whole word. You just said a whole word there. I mean, and with all these conversations that we've been having recently, people will be talking about 2020 for like decades to come,
Forever.
4 generations from now, they're gonna be like, you were alive in 2020. And it's not all bad. We talk a lot about the suffering and the losses. And we should talk about those. But one thing that has been inspiring for me this year is that I've seen so many people really being empowered and saying, you know what? If I haven't learned anything else this year, I've learned that time is not promised. And people are starting to understand more on how the day-to-day choices and behaviors and mindsets impact our body's resilience. Stress, we hear all these people, healthy people who have succumbed to COVID and everything. But you look, what was their stress like? How were they sleeping? All these things, it's all related. Our nutrition, our sleep, how much we move, even exercise. There are most days I'm not doing like a straight up exercise, but every day I'm moving, whether it's taking a walk at the park or dancing. And there was a time I wouldn't have thought that was like exercise. I didn't think that was good enough. The threshold. And you've encouraged me, go walk, go dance, whatever you can be consistent in and that you're going to enjoy, do it. And there are days when my body's like, okay, because the strange thing about the body is that it wants to do all these things, that our mind may not have caught up to it yet, but our body's like, okay, I'm used to doing this. Let's do some more.
You said it. That's it.
And then your mind catches up too. And then there are days when your body might not feel like it. And then that's where that internal willpower, has to kick in and you have to force it. So it's really, there's this connection, but it's really all related. When we talk about strengthening our bodies, there's no magic pill, there's no magic vaccine or anything. You have to do what you have to do specific to you. To help yourself be as strong and well as possible. And then that's mind and body.
That's it. You said it. It's really, it's all of that together. And don't be afraid to switch up, your idea even of what your village looks like. And that doesn't mean that you're cutting off, family and friends, but it means specific to the goal that you have in mind. So when your mind is centered around money, all of a sudden you want to enter spaces where other people have been successful in that area. You're reaching out. I can't tell you how many times I'm seeing posts on Facebook, of people looking for a mentor or looking for a program that's going to help them learn how to make more money. Well, look at your body in the same way, right? When you go down the list and say, how much am I willing to invest in my education? Well, for most of us, it can look like $50,000+ over the course of 5 to 10 years, depending on how much education you're trying to acquire. So that means that I've decided that I'm willing to invest. Right. Because that's what I'm doing. I'm willing to invest, $50,000 to $150,000 over the course of my lifetime in efforts of increasing my skills and efforts of increasing my knowledge, in hopes that the return on that investment looks like a better paying job stability, just more experience in the field. Whatever it is, whatever success for you is, you've determined that the price tag, right? You've determined that the investment is necessary. Right. So can we now look at our bodies in the same way? If I'm willing to invest $100,000 over the course of 7 years so that I can get 3 degrees, so that I can enter this workforce and that I hope to enter,
Yes.
Well, I can also use that same mindset to say, okay, how much am I able to invest in getting my body and my mind to a place I never even seen before? Like the best shape I've ever been in my life. Am I willing to invest? Now, I will say this, for a lot of people, the fear is in, well, what if I don't reach my goal? Well, what if you don't get your dream job?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Everything is a what if, you know.
Yes.
So what you're really saying is that you're focusing on whether or not you find value in this investment. You're not focusing on the guarantee of
Right.
the result, because what we know is that that guarantee is really based on my work output. That's based on my willingness to do the work. And the work doesn't look the same in every situation. But the one thing I know is that I'm never going to feel like investing in my health was a bad investment. I can't look back and say that. I could definitely say, you know what,
Girl.
that car I invested in this car and the car went out on me as soon as I pulled off the lot. Or, you know what, I spent 6 years in this school only to realize I don't even like this area of, you know, of schooling, right? But I just can't see myself saying, you know what, I entered a program for this past year and the last thing I should have done was invest in my health. Now, you might say that the program didn't work for you. You might say that the person didn't work for you. And that doesn't mean investing in your health was a bad thing. That might just be a matter of deciding that this person wasn't the right fit for you. It might be that this program didn't give you everything that you needed, or that you didn't work the program fully. See, that's the other area. It's like we know how to figure out what just enough looks like and what just enough feels like. I mean, we do it in school, we do it in every area of our lives. You know, they say how you do anything is how you do everything. We don't like to hear that. You know, we don't like to hear that, but that's the reality. Like we know, you know, I have clients who for years we have played around in this same space. You know, it's like, oh, when my body loses about 35 pounds, I relax. Even though the goal has always been 50.
Yeah.
It's like, once I lose 35, I can relax a little bit. And so the consistency starts to slow, you know, the rituals start to kind of fade away. And it's because our mind can tell us before we even get there where we're going to stop or where we're going to decide, okay, I've done enough. Like being good is cool, but great, that takes a little too much work. I'm satisfied with this. And we do the same thing with our body. So if we just now kind of reframe and rethink what that looks like, now look at your health the same way you would look at going to see a financial advisor, the same way you would look at going to purchase a car, a home. Everything that we do in our lives is an investment with a large price tag that we have to decide whether or not it is of value, right? And it doesn't mean you're paying for your house out of pocket. It doesn't mean you're paying for your car out of pocket. It means you are deciding that because this is of such value, I'm now going to figure out exactly what that looks like for me, whether that be monthly, whether that be, quarterly, but you have to first decide that it's worth it. And once you do that, now your mindset, you're thinking differently. You're thinking differently when you're thinking about grocery shopping. You're thinking differently when you're thinking about a wellness program. You're thinking differently when you're thinking about a good pair of tennis shoes. When you're thinking about, you know, things that really help to improve your body, you're not seeing them as much as an expense. You're seeing them as an investment and really healing your body over a long period of time. And that looks differently. And you start to also notice people who aren't rooted in that space because they will typically say, oh no, that costs too much. I'm not spending that much. No, I would never spend that much on a pair of shoes. That's too much for a pair of tennis shoes. You know, but yet, you know, we put the most stress on our feet, right? We have the most problems with our feet, whether it's plantar fasciitis, whether it's, you know, tendonitis, issues with our ankles, heel spurs. We have so many issues with our feet. And so when we start tending to them, we say, oh, okay, this pair of tennis shoes is $200. Now we say, man, that's something I really need because I know the benefits of me being able to walk comfortably, me being able to go to sleep without the aches and the pains in my feet and really tending to them. It's really priceless when I think about how much I use my feet. And that's how you start redirecting how you move. And when you start thinking that way, you start attracting other people who think that way. And then you don't feel like the odd man out when you come into a room bragging about this new program that you're a part of. You don't feel like you have to explain expense because you're around people who find value in healing and value in health. And so they already know why you did it, and you don't have to explain to them why you paid for it.
And when you model that, you don't know who you might inspire, because people, we make it so much on the aesthetics, but it's more than that. I have witnessed people who've had, weight loss journeys, but it was so much more than that, to see how having increased mobility changes your life, how being able to get off some of these medications changes your life, and also what it does for you emotionally and mentally. Just seeing that you could accomplish this goal and how that makes you feel, how strong and empowered that makes you feel. So even if your circle's not on the bandwagon with you, be the first, because you could create a movement. And when we talk about that investment, a lot of people in the audience may not have heard of a wellness coach. Probably 10 years ago, I had never heard of one. So what does I want to talk about what a wellness coach does. What are some key components of wellness plans? And then about the investment component. Does insurance cover, wellness coaching and those sort of things? So what does a wellness coach do, and key components of a wellness plan and the investment part in terms of insurance coverage?
So with a wellness program, you're looking at really the areas that our bodies tend to be most imbalanced. So we're focusing on, and I'll use myself in particular. So as a holistic health coach, the areas that I'm coaching my clients through are weight gain, unmanaged stress, and chronic pain. So, and depending on the client, you may be suffering from all of those in different capacities. You may have joint pain, you may have gut discomfort because of digestive issues that might be related to the diet, or that might be related to stress, or you might have weight gain that's related to inactivity plus unmanaged stress from a heavy workload. So what we're doing is really identifying what those areas look like, and then really tending to them in efforts to reduce pain, to reduce weight, to find more balanced stress, so that your body is really able to heal and recover, but also giving you a lot of those tools that you need so that you're empowered and you become your own advocate for your own health when you go to the doctor's office. And you're now looking at going to the doctor's office differently. And so we do kind of bridge the gap between what you're doing at home and what you're doing at the doctor's office. The doctor is tending to your symptoms. And so what we're doing is identifying where those symptoms came from. So the goal here is to really get to the root of why this imbalance is showing up, so that you're not feeling as dependent and tied to going to the doctor and having to take medications that are specific to lifestyle change, or that are specific to areas that you have the ability to improve. And so that's really the most important area of wellness coaching, is really teaching the client how to heal, teaching the client how to identify foods that heal the body, how to identify the importance of mobility. So not just working out, but mobility. So when we look at movement, we're not just talking about going to the gym. We're talking about the importance of taking a 10-minute walk every day, and how that strengthens your heart and can impact your lymphatic system fully functioning and moving in the way that it needs to. So a lot of those hidden areas that we've just really not known anything about leaves us a lot more dependent on and attached to the doctor's office. And so when you know more, you're more equipped to go in with questions that you may not have ever had. And you also find a voice. You feel like you can go in and say, hey, you know what? I know that you want to prescribe this, but is there anything that I can do in my own life that can help maybe lessen that dosage, or that can keep me from having to take it? So those types of conversations that we may not have been having before, now we're having a lot more often. And as you said, in recent years, health coaching and wellness coaching have really become a part of people's journey, and recognized now a lot more than it was before. So thankfully for myself, my clients are able to go through their HSA or FSA reimbursement, and that allows them to get reimbursed for the program. So, check with your insurance provider. I haven't had any problems with any of my clients, and these are specific to the guidelines that they already have laid out. So every wellness coach or every, health program doesn't fall in line with the guidelines, but I was very intentional about making sure that whatever program I went through and whatever things were necessary, whatever requirements were necessary for approval, that I made sure that I met those requirements, just so that my clients would be able to get reimbursed for their program.
Excellent. Yeah, I know that, for a lot of people that oftentimes is a barrier, that investment. But the thing of it is you will pay one way or another, either at the doctor's office with copays and deductibles and medications, or the investment on the other side where you're doing it more preventatively. Mm-hmm. And so it really is a choice, and knowing that you have that option, to use your healthcare spending account, a flexible spending account, certainly is a huge benefit that I don't think a lot of people know about, because I hadn't even thought about that. And so really recently I was like on your website and I saw that and I was like, what? Yeah. Oh, let me call them and find out. And so I was really excited to see that, because folks, and this is not financial advice, but using those funds from your healthcare spending accounts and flexible spending accounts is better for you from a tax standpoint. So it's definitely something to look into, a worthwhile investment. And so you provide all of your services now virtually, correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So all services are pretty much set up in this way. So everything is 100% online and virtual. And as my clients have always had, you still feel that same sense of, being in a safe space, being in a confidential environment. And I always encourage you to give yourself that same consideration, so when we're scheduling appointments, consider the time that you need, and consider the space that you need. If that means that we're having an appointment and you're sitting in your car, okay, if you're in the garage or you're in the bedroom with the door closed, whatever that looks like for you, just know that that time is important. And so, if you're able to give yourself that time and really commit to it, it can really be life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. And I think for a lot of people, what you'll find, there's a lot of overlap in the work that you and I do and the work that I do with my therapist. Mm-hmm. Because the core of wellness, it really is getting to the root of addressing, traumas and stress triggers and things like that. So I think that it's a really good complement for folks who are engaged in other therapy.
Absolutely. It really is. Everything is connected. I encourage my clients to also have a therapist on hand, because when you're looking at therapy, a lot of the focus is on what led me to where I am right now. Mm-hmm. Right. And as the health coach, what I'm doing is I'm looking at where you are right now, and then looking at what things we need to do to get you to where you want to go. So we're all working together to get you to where you need to be, so I'm more focusing forward. I'm saying, okay, how do we want to feel a year from now, or how do we want to look 6 months from now? Okay. And so now we need to navigate that space based on what these components look like for us to actually get to that end result. And then at that 6 month mark, well, okay, now what does the next 6 months look like? So I've made it here. Now, what does this look like? And so it's just a constant assessment, right? We're just assessing, where is the body right now? Where do we want the body to be? How is the body performing right now? And then how do we want the body to perform, 3 months from now or 6 months from now? And how do I tend to myself in these areas in order for me to get to that point?
It really, it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
It's all connected. Is there any final thought that you want to leave the audience with? Any major takeaway that you want people to have in terms of, as they're listening and thinking about, how do they start to tackle developing a wellness plan? Or
Well, I would say, most importantly, believing in your health is really going to set the course, right? So if you're rooted in the belief, then whatever steps you take will kind of fall into place, as opposed to being rooted in the behavior of what weight loss looks like or what wellness looks like. So we're not chasing behavior. Belief systems are totally different. Belief systems are much slower, much more intentional, much more specific to where you want to be, how you want to feel. And that alone can really help to redirect the course of your life from where you are today. So you can be a person who has chased weight loss for 20 years, and that same person can really find sustained wellness in one. So you can be a person who has felt like, for my entire life, I've been trying to figure this out and get it right. And then in a matter of 1 year or in a matter of 6 months, you're like, wow, had I been thinking like this 20 years ago, I wouldn't be in this point right now. So with the thought process, when you really kind of pull it back and say, all right, am I ready to commit to this new way of thinking and believing? And then if the answer is yes, okay, now the steps that we need to take really don't feel as draining, right? Because I believe in it. And when I believe in it, I know, like, I might not feel like doing this today, but I know I need to do this today. And it really just, it sits differently when you really are strongly rooted in the belief that this is what my body needs from me. And now I'm willing to give that.
Yes, absolutely. That's 100% truth. Thank you so much, Marquita.
And thank you. I mean, I can talk about this all day,
Well, this is the first of many conversations on wellness. It's just, it's so complex and it's so specific to each individual, and then that season that individual is in their life. And, I'm hopeful because even with everything happening right now, I'm starting to see people really talk about their wellness. You hear people talking about immune systems and all this stuff. It's like, wow, you didn't hear everybody talking about this before. And now people are really trying to understand, how can my food heal me? How can simply going outside and getting fresh air and getting some sunshine, how can that heal me? How can hugs, which we can't do that as much, but the importance of hugs and positive physical contact and everything, the importance in all that and building a strong, healthy immune system. People are talking about it. And, I read something somewhere recently that said the demand for wellness coaches will grow by like 40% over the next 5 years. And I said, you know what? Finally, a stat that is wonderful, because I'm like, that means you all are gonna be really busy, but that's really good, because that means that people are starting to understand that we are empowered. We are really empowered. We can heal our bodies, we can take charge of our lives, and we can be stronger, and just we can beat all of this. It just starts, like what you said, with that belief, and then working with someone who can give you those tools and help guide you on that journey, because it's a journey. You may fall. I've been falling and starting and stopping for years, but the total mindset wasn't there, and constantly reprimanding myself, was there. And so learning how to do a lot less of that and a lot more of the, like, we were consistent and did this, and celebrating those small milestones too. They matter too. And just really changing my mindset has been huge. So I thank you for what you do for me and for everybody that I know who knows you, and just for being an educator, being an empowerer of women. Is empowerer a word? We're gonna make it a word.
Right? It's right now. I'm gonna put that on the shirt.
Right. Empowerer. Yes. I appreciate you. And thank you for making time to chat today. For the audience, all of the links for Marquita's website and social media handles will be in the notes box on the YouTube video for this. And then also on she.confidential.com, you'll be able to find everything related to Marquita. She offers virtual services. Check out her website. In addition to your virtual services for coaching, you have other products and everything. You want to talk about those for a minute?
So absolutely. So I also have an online tea shop that really serves to, again, the same types of needs that we've been talking about this entire time. Our immune system, our stress management, our, just pain relief, all the areas that just really tend to plague most people quite often, but now really paying attention again to what natural healing looks like, paying more attention to how, fruits, how herbs help to heal the body. And these are methods of healing that have been around since the beginning of time, right? It's like, hundreds of years ago, you weren't taking a leave, right? So a lot of the plants and herbs that are just natural sources of, whether it be antidepressants, whether it be anti-inflammatories, sleep aids, these are things that as you start to incorporate them into your routine, when you start to create those rituals, again, it all comes back to just creating those rituals where, if you really believe in what nature can do to heal you, you'll find yourself a lot more closely connected to it and just wanting to learn it and understand it. And with all of the tea blends and liquid extracts and things like that are in my shop, they all come with a brief explanation as to what purpose they serve and, how this is something that can benefit your body. So at least just kind of, take a peek and see if this is something that can benefit you. And if this is something that you feel like you're ready to just kind of step into if you haven't already.
I should have brought some of my goodies in here for visuals, but on she.confidential.com, I have tons of photos and stuff from things that I've shared with other people. So I'll post some on there because your bath salt, me and my cousin, it's the only bath salt that I've ever been able to use. It's amazing. Everything is just awesome. So y'all will have lots of pictures to look at for some of the products, not all of them, but some of the products that Marquita provides. Like I can attest to them. They're amazing.
Oh,